Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is not the original intro that I had filmed for this piece. However, quite a few things unfolded in the time of me painting this. This should have actually been done quite a while ago, and the video should have been done a while ago as well. But I actually spilt boiling water down myself and got quite a severe burn. Long story. However, I'm okay, I'm on the mend, but it slowed me down for a considerable time. So I actually got my kids to help me with this one. We went for a really kind of playful, colourful finish. I love how it turned out. I wish I could keep it, I haven't got enough room. Anyway, I will show you the video. It's kind of chaotic, but it's also quite fun, and I hope you enjoy it. So, this table was picked up off eBay. It caught my eye, and part of the reason it caught my eye is because of the character of the piece. So I love pieces with a bit of character and rusticness. As long as they are sturdy, then anything else I can deal with. So I've established this piece is wax. There's a couple of ways you can tell your piece is wax. One of them is by just grabbing a nail. You can't grab a nail, it's attached to your hand. Get your nail and scrape it on where the piece that you think might be waxed. If you get build up under your nail, that's usually an indication that it's waxed. Varnish wouldn't do that because obviously it's too hard. Wax scrapes off. The other way you can tell is by getting an old piece of sandpaper and just rubbing really lightly on an area. If you get build up like that on your sandpaper, again, it's usually an indication of wax because varnish won't clog your sandpaper up like that. Varnish just comes off in a kind of a fine dust. So we've established that that is wax. Normally, I'd be using my carbide scraper and scraping all of this away. But what I think that might do is take away some of this character, and I don't want to take away too much of the character of this piece because it's part of the reason I bought it. So all I'm going to use is some fine wire wool and some white spirits. I'll quickly cover how to remove wax, but I have got a detailed video on my channel. If you want more information, I'll link it at the top right now. That just goes into a little bit more detail. But essentially all you do is pour your white spirits or your mineral spirits onto a section of your piece. I work in small sections because this product obviously can dissolve fairly quickly. So I work in smaller sections and pour some on your piece, get your wire wool, rub it, which is going to basically dissolve the wax that's sitting on the surface, and the wire wool just ensures that you are sort of agitating it and making sure that it's all gone out of the corners and wood grain. And then once you have scrubbed it with your wire wool, I'm just concentrating on a small area there that has a little bit of nail varnish on it or something. So I'm making sure that that's all up as well. And once you have agitated all your wax and it's dissolved, before it has a chance to evaporate and dry, you need to get a rag or a piece of shop cloth and basically wipe off that wax that we've now dissolved. And that is basically how you strip wax off a piece of furniture. Like I say, work in small areas instead of trying to do the whole piece at once, because you'll find that the product does evaporate. And also I find it easy to work on like a flat surface, so I do tend to tip my furniture around just so that the white spirits isn't running all over the place. Okay, so that took about half an hour to strip the wax. Not too painful, not too bad. And it has left all of the character of the wood, knocks and bumps and all that kind of thing. It's left it intact, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it with a solution that I've pre-mixed in a spray bottle of Dixie Belle's White Lightning and water. I've got a microfiber cloth, and you don't want to skip the cleaning step when you've used white spirits or mineral spirits, and that's because they can sometimes contain oils which will prevent your paint from adhering to the surface properly. Also, if you've used wire wool, sometimes teeny little bits of wire wool can stay on the surface, especially if you've got quite a lot of detail in the wood, like rustic kind of knocks and bumps in the wood. Sometimes little bits of the metal can get trapped in the wood grain, and again, that will affect your finish. So you want to make sure you give it a good clean. Make sure to use a degreasing cleaner like Dixie Belle's White Lightning, because that will cut through any oils left over from the white spirits. And never forget to rinse your cleaning product off the surface, because again, that can affect the finish of your piece. Spider. Unwanted guess, that was. As I was saying, you want to make sure you always rinse the cleaning product that you've just cleaned your piece with. I just wash my cloth out really well with some warm water and give it a rinse. And then last but not least, I'm going to give this a quick sand. Now, I haven't got anything too abrasive on here. Let me see what I've got. That's a 280 grit. So that's a 280 grit on my electric sander. I'm also going to turn the aggressiveness down. I don't want an aggressive sand. I don't want to take all of the character out of this table. But I also don't want any rough bits of wood sticking out that potentially someone's going to sue me over if they buy the table. No, I'm joking. I just don't want any rough bits of wood sticking up or anything like that. So I'm just going to give it a quick sand all over, and that will complete our prep. Oh, she's smooth, she's sanded. The first colour I'm going to use is, surprise, surprise, green. This is Malachite. I had to dip my brush already. It's a brand new chip brush. I couldn't resist. So I've dipped my brush in. That's the colour green. It's a delight, and I'm just going to randomly put this in areas on the table, but not the drawers, because I'm going to do something else with those. So I'm just going to take the drawers out and leave those to one side, and as you can see, I'm just really randomly applying the malachite. Terra Clay Paint is super pigmented, and I only needed one coat of this to get that kind of coverage, which is why these layered and distressed looks work really, really well with Terra, because you don't have to rely on multiple coats of paint to get that coverage. Okay, so I've got the green layer on. That's dried overnight. Now, in a strange twist of events, my kids are off, as you can tell in the background. They're off school today, and also I have had a little accident with some boiling water. Long story short, I've had a head cold for about 3 weeks and went to pour myself a hot water bottle to put on my ear, because all my ears and sinuses are playing up. Spilt the entire contents of the hot water bottle down me, so I have a massive burn on my side. It's really painful, and it's making painting, bending over and things like that, like actually quite hard. So here's my genius idea. Kids off school, me injured. I'm going to be the director, and I'm going to let my kids carry on painting this. So this is, who's this? What's your name?
Herbie.
Herbie is 6.
6.
Who's this?
Nancy.
Nancy is 10. Okay, so there's going to be some wild times here. Buckle up, because it's going to get chaotic. So I am going to let the kids carry on under my supervision, putting some colours on this table, because if you remember my video from a few weeks ago, I said that I painted like a child in order to make lots of different texture and create lots of different marks, so that when you distress, it kind of looks authentic. So instead of painting like a child, I'm just going to get children to do the painting for me. They are using chip brushes. Kids, show your brushes. There's the brushes. There we go. And the colour is?
It is daffodil.
Daffodil. So we're going to use
yellow.
Daffodil yellow. We're going to use daffodil next, and I'm just going to get them to add parts of yellow on the table. We're not going for full coverage, a little bit like I did the green, so I'm just going to get them to add that on now. So, like I say, I'm just going to get them to add it in random areas, and this is just going to be little pops of colour here and there of yellow. I've also put the drawers back in because I do want yellow on the drawers. I just didn't want any of the malachite. They're using chip brushes, which have got natural bristles. This is just going to help promote all that kind of lovely texture and kind of unevenness that I want to create, so that when we distress later on, it's just going to help me reveal all those layers underneath. Herbie, turn it off. How? Turn it off. Press the button. Okay, so the daffodil is on randomly, and now Herbie's going to demonstrate speed drying with a hairdryer. Go, Herbie. So once he actually figured out how to turn it on and off, he had a good kind of couple of minutes blasting the surface. There's the dog as well, just getting in on the action. But he also got distracted fairly quickly and just started blasting his hair. I caught him in the act. There he is, caught red-handed. So I gave it to Nancy to do, and she just blasted it off so that we can get on with the next colour. As predicted, Herbie lasted about 2 minutes before he got bored and he's gone down the garden. So we are now going to mix a pink colour for the drawers. How do you mix pink? How do you mix pink?
With these.
No, what colours do you use to mix pink?
What do you mean?
What 2 colours make pink?
Orange and white.
Incorrect, she is not my child.
Red and white.
Red and white, yes. So, I don't have a red, but I do have a pink. But I don't want a bright pink. I want a dusky pink. So we're going to throw some colours around and see if we can make a dusky pink. The 3 shades I've got here are Bougainvillea, Moonbeam, which is white, and Desert Tan. So my plan is, the Bougainvillea is far too bright for what I have in mind. So I'm just going to make a pale sort of pastel pink with the Bougainvillea and Moonbeam mixed together. But that is a little bit too kind of bubblegummy pink for my liking. So I'm going to add some of the Desert Tan, which is a really pretty neutral shade, mix that together, and hopefully that's going to give us a kind of dirty looking pink, which is exactly what I wanted. And while Herbie was still in the garden, I let Nancy paint over each of the drawer fronts in our pink. So that's our pink drawers done. I'm actually going to take those out and put them to one side to dry, because the final colour that I'm going to layer over the top of the main bit of the table is pistachio, but I'm also going to mix it with Desert Tan to make it a little bit more of a muted tone. So we're going to mix that now. Me and Nancy are going to mix that now, and then we'll get that on. I'm no doubt Herbie will come back at some point and want to join in again, so be prepared. So this custom mix of pistachio and Desert Tan is going to be the main colour that I'm going to apply, or going to get the kids apply, to the entire table. Might help if I press record. Nancy just delivered a golden line. She just asked me, who would want to buy this? It's a great question. Brilliant. I wish I'd have caught that on camera. Anyway, our custom green is going all over the other colours, which have already dried. And as you can see, it's just muted that pistachio shade down a touch. If you have a super bright colour and you did want to just kind of mute it down a little bit, Desert Tan is really good for doing that to all of the kind of bright shades in the Terra Clay Paint range. Again, we only need 1 coat of this to get the coverage. The coverage is absolutely phenomenal. Even the yellow daffodil shade covered superbly. So, oh, here's Herbie just helping at the very last bit down at the bottom there. And we had complete coverage of our green colour. So they have got that far with it. They've added the green, the custom green, over the top of the other layers, and they've created loads of texture and random brush strokes, which is exactly what I wanted. My plan worked. So they've left a right mess as well. They've just chucked everything on the floor and disappeared, bored very quickly, clearly. And they did also ask if they could have a cut of the sale if it sells, but Nancy did also say, who would buy this? So anyway, that stage is done. I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we're going to add some distressing afterwards. So due to the fact that this had quite a few layers of paint, 3 in total in some areas, I did leave this to dry overnight before I distressed. And I'm going to distress the whole thing with my electric sander. And the idea is to reveal loads of that orange toned wood underneath, which is going to contrast really nicely against the green. So I'm almost using the orange toned wood as an extra colour, if that makes sense. And hopefully those tiny little pops of yellow will come through on the drawer fronts as well, which is going to kind of tie all together, or that's my plan anyway. So I went in really heavy handed with my electric sander, and then I just finished off some little bits with my hand, like a hand sander, just some old sanding sheets from my Festool. And then finally I went to use a Dixie Belle sanding sponge, which is equivalent to a 220 grit, and this is going to give me a really nice soft finish, and also just lets me do any detailing. And when you've done any distress work, you need to make sure you remove any dust off the surface before you add your top coat or seal it. I'm using a microfiber cloth, otherwise that dust just gets trapped in your top coat and you get a really uneven kind of rough finish. So I'm using Terra Tough, which is my preferred top coat for Terra Clay Paint. I'm applying it with a synthetic brush and a really light hand. The best thing that I've found is to just do really thin coats of Terra Tough and allow it to dry fully in between coats. In total, I did 2 coats of this all over. After the second coat of Terra Tough, I allowed this to sit overnight to make sure it was completely dry. And then I'm going to use Best Dang Wax in black. And I've done this in real time at the moment because I wanted to show you the difference in colour that it's going to make to the area that I've waxed versus the area that I haven't waxed. So you can see on the camera now, it just sort of dulls all the colours but without going muddy. So this style of furniture, this kind of Indian looking, really distressed kind of style, if you look on Pinterest at this kind of stuff, it is usually got a really kind of heavily applied black wax on it. So I just applied the black wax all over with a Best Dang brush really liberally, let it sit for about an hour, and then buffed it off with a microfiber cloth. And you all know I like to show you a cheeky close-up, but I am a particular fan of the top. I absolutely love the colours, and here is the final shot. So, thank you for watching. That concludes this rather chaotic but hopefully hilarious video, and my kids have done an absolutely sterling job. In fact, if I had somewhere for this piece, and I do say this fairly often, but if I did have somewhere for this piece, I'd definitely be keeping it because I absolutely love it. So again, thank you for watching the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and I will catch you next time. Bye!